July 1st, 2018. In the quiet neighborhood of Burari, Delhi, the day began like any other. Shopkeepers prepared to open their stores. Families started their morning routines. But behind the doors of one ordinary-looking house, something unimaginable had already happened. When neighbors noticed unusual silence, they became concerned. Soon, police officers entered the house. What they discovered would shock India and the entire world. 11 members of the same family were dead. 10 of them were found suspended in a carefully arranged formation. An elderly woman was discovered separately in another room. There were no signs of forced entry, no evidence of robbery, no obvious struggle. At first, investigators feared they were looking at a brutal mass murder. But as the investigation unfolded, an even stranger story emerged. Hidden inside the house were handwritten diaries, filled with detailed instructions written over many years. Those pages appeared to describe rituals, beliefs, and actions that investigators believed were connected to the family's final days. Even today, one question continues to haunt millions of people. How could an entire family become involved in such an extraordinary tragedy? This is the story of the Burari deaths, one of the most disturbing and psychologically complex cases in modern history. Before the tragedy, the Bhatia family appeared to be living an ordinary and successful life. They had lived together in Burari for many years, running a small grocery and plywood business that was well known in the neighborhood. Family members worked together every day, celebrated festivals together, and were often described by neighbors as polite, hardworking, and deeply connected. There were no public signs of serious financial problems. There were no reports of violent conflicts that suggested such a devastating outcome. To everyone around them, they seemed like a close-knit family with a stable future. But behind the closed doors of their home, investigators later discovered that another story had quietly been unfolding. According to the investigation, the family had been keeping handwritten diaries for years. Those diaries contained detailed notes about rituals, prayers, daily routines, and spiritual guidance. Many entries were believed to have been written under the influence of beliefs held by one family member, Lalit Bhatia, who reportedly believed he could receive guidance from the spirit of his late father. Investigators did not find evidence that these writings predicted the future. Instead, they became an important part of understanding how the family's belief system may have developed over time. The more detectives read the diaries, the more they realized this case was unlike anything they had investigated before. It wasn't simply about what happened, it was about understanding why. Sunday, July 1st, 2018. It was just after sunrise. The streets of Burari slowly came to life as shopkeepers prepared for another ordinary day. But one shop remained closed. For neighbors, this was unusual. The Bhatia family's grocery store was known for opening early every morning. At first, no one thought much of it. Perhaps the family had gone somewhere. Perhaps they were simply running late. But as the hours passed, the silence became impossible to ignore. A concerned neighbor decided to check on the family. Repeated knocks on the front door received no response. Looking inside, something seemed terribly wrong. Authorities were immediately contacted. When police officers entered the house, they found one of the most disturbing scenes in modern Indian criminal history. 10 members of the family were discovered suspended in a carefully arranged formation inside the house. An elderly family member was found deceased in another room. There were no signs of forced entry. Valuables appeared untouched. Nothing suggested a robbery or a violent struggle with an outsider. Investigators immediately secured the property and began documenting every detail. At first, many believed they were investigating a carefully planned mass murder. But as forensic teams examined the evidence, that theory became increasingly difficult to support. The mystery had only just begun. As investigators continued searching the house, they came across something unexpected. It wasn't a hidden weapon. It wasn't a secret passage. It was a collection of ordinary-looking, handwritten diaries. At first glance, they appeared to be simple notebooks, but as detectives began reading them, they realized these pages could hold the key to understanding the tragedy. The diaries contained years of handwritten entries describing daily routines, spiritual practices, family responsibilities, and personal reflections. Some entries also included detailed instructions for rituals that investigators believed were connected to the family's belief system. According to the investigation, many of these writings appeared to have been recorded over several years rather than written all at once. Investigators noted that the handwriting and dates suggested the notebooks documented a long-term pattern of beliefs and practices within the household. One name repeatedly drew attention: Lalit Bhatia. After the death of his father years earlier, Lalit reportedly told family members that he could receive guidance from his late father during spiritual experiences. Over time, investigators believed these experiences became deeply important within the family's daily life. The diaries described acts of discipline, prayer, trust, and obedience. They also reflected a belief that following specific instructions would protect the family and lead to a better future. Importantly, investigators did not conclude that the diaries proved anything supernatural. Instead, they treated them as crucial evidence for understanding the family's shared belief system and the decisions made before the tragedy. With every page they examined, detectives realized this case was becoming less about finding an outside suspect and more about understanding what had happened inside the minds of the people living in that house. Continued, psychologists and investigators began asking a different question: not who caused this tragedy, but how an entire family could come to share the same extraordinary beliefs. Experts emphasized that this case should not be viewed as evidence of supernatural forces. Instead, many focused on the powerful influence that beliefs, grief, family dynamics, and trust can have over time. According to investigators, Lalit Bhatia appeared to have become a central figure within the household after the death of his father. Family members reportedly trusted his guidance deeply. Over the years, those beliefs may have become increasingly woven into the family's daily routines. Mental health professionals have discussed concepts such as shared beliefs within close family groups, where the influence of one person can shape how others interpret events. However, experts also caution that no single psychological explanation fully accounts for everything that happened in Burari. Human behavior is rarely that simple. Families are built on love, trust, respect, and sometimes unquestioning faith in someone they believe is trying to protect them. Investigators believe the family may have genuinely expected the ritual to end differently than it did. Some evidence suggested they believed they would survive after completing it. That possibility transformed the case from a simple mystery into one of the world's most discussed psychological tragedies. It was no longer just a criminal investigation. It became a painful reminder of how powerful belief can be when it goes unchallenged. Even today, mental health experts continue to study this case, not to judge the family, but to better understand how similar tragedies might be prevented in the future. After months of investigation, forensic analysis, interviews, and the examination of hundreds of pieces of evidence, Delhi police reached a conclusion. Investigators reported that they found no evidence of an outside attacker entering the house. The physical evidence, forensic findings, and the handwritten diaries all pointed investigators toward a tragic psychological explanation rather than a conventional homicide. However, that conclusion did not end the debate. Across India and around the world, people continued asking difficult questions. Could 11 people really have shared the same beliefs? Was every family member equally convinced? Did anyone have doubts? Some people accepted the investigators' findings. Others believed important questions still remained unanswered. The case quickly became one of the most discussed true crime stories in modern India. Psychologists studied it. Journalists investigated it. Documentary filmmakers revisited it. Even years later, the Burari tragedy continues to be discussed in universities, newsrooms, and mental health communities as an example of how complex human behavior can be. Perhaps the most unsettling part of this case is that the family appeared ordinary to everyone around them. Their neighbors saw kindness. Their customers saw a successful business. Their friends saw a loving family. Yet behind closed doors, a very different reality was developing. The Burari case reminds us that not every mystery is solved by finding a criminal. Sometimes the greatest mystery lies within the human mind itself. Today, the official investigation is closed, but for millions of people, the questions remain. What really happened inside that house? Could this tragedy have been prevented? And how well do we truly understand the people closest to us? Those questions may never have complete answers, but remembering this tragedy with empathy and learning from it may be the most important lesson of all. Thank you for watching. If you found this documentary thoughtful and informative, consider subscribing to Darkfiles Crime for more carefully researched true crime stories. And tell us in the comments, do you think the Burari tragedy is fully explained by psychology, or do you believe there are still unanswered questions?